I'm Gregg, Jarrett. You're in the strategy room. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders neck and neck in several polls for the Democratic presidential nomination. Other Democrats running to be the nominee, like Martin O'Malley, Jim Webb, Lincoln Chafee. They're trying to gain momentum heading into Tuesday's debate. So is there any room for other candidates beyond Clinton, Sanders, and even, well, dare I say it, Joe Biden? Here now with reaction, Professor Jeanne Zaino from Iona College, and Flip Pidot, who is CEO at the American Civics Exchange. Welcome to both of you. So, Flip, it's Sanders, Clinton, and the gang of nobody ever heard of.
Right, and the maybe Biden.
Yeah, and maybe Biden.
Right.
So can these other people, Lincoln Chafee, Jim Webb, Martin O'Malley, can they gain any attention and traction?
Well, O'Malley's the one that surprises me, frankly, as a governor. This seems to be the year of the anti-gubernatorial bias in the electorate. I was shocked on the GOP side to see Perry and Walker exit as quickly as they did.
Right.
We're having outsiders and senators hanging in there, and the governors, who normally are very strong in the primaries and generals, failing to gain any traction. So you've got what seems like a two-way race between Clinton and Sanders, with Biden sort of thinking about jumping in. Maybe he will as late as Tuesday, the day of the debate. That's the last day he can do to actually qualify for it. O'Malley now is making some more noises. He's coming out with, he seems to be veering left a bit, but in a bit of a brainier kind of way than Sanders,
right,
whose leftward credentials
are
unquestionable. But O'Malley is putting out some talking points in terms of how he would revise the Trans-Pacific Partnership with protections for labor standards and minimum wage, things like that. So I think trying to distinguish himself on an intellectual basis or a policy-driven basis from Sanders. I think it'll come down to whether he can really deliver that in an effective and engaging way on Tuesday. He, I think, of the unknowns, the undercard, so to speak, on the Democratic side, stands the best chance. But I think this will likely be his one and only chance, particularly if Biden comes in. He'll suck all the oxygen out of the room.
Debates turn things around sometimes dramatically overnight. And Jimmy Carter was known as Jimmy Who back in 1976. Became President of the United States in a fairly crowded field, at least by those standards. What about these guys?
You know, I think we've seen this year alone on the Republican side what an impact a good debate performance can have or a poor debate performance. So I think this is something of a last shot for somebody like Martin O'Malley, somebody like Jim Webb, who I think has an awful lot to offer and has not, certainly got into the public's consciousness at all yet. Lincoln Chafee a little less so. So I do think they have an opportunity, but I think one of the big questions the Democrats face is anybody going to be watching this debate? Is it going to be watched even to a little bit as much as the Republicans' debates were? You had Donald Trump in those debates. You had some exciting characters, people tuning in record numbers for the first Fox debate and then the second CNN debate. Right. But, you wonder, are they going to be able to get that kind of attention? I'm certain Hillary Clinton would be much happier if they didn't tune in those large numbers as the front runner. And somebody like Martin O'Malley, who has been criticizing the Democratic Party for hosting these 6 debates, not enough time, and doing them at these kind of odd hours that he feels like they're doing them designed to help Hillary Clinton as the front runner.
Sanders' poll numbers in Iowa and New Hampshire notwithstanding, Hillary Clinton is still considered the front runner, and so she will naturally be the target at the upcoming debate next week. And her recent blatant flip-flop on the trade pact, TPP, will likely, dominate some of the discussion on domestic issues. She's really exposed there, isn't it? Isn't she, Flip? I mean, on 45 different occasions, she publicly and dramatically endorsed the trade pact, called it the gold standard, bragged about how it was part of her accomplishments. Mm-hmm. Now she's against it.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I would expect she'll get questioned on that and she'll have enough sort of esoteric responses and talking points to discuss why she's for or against one component or another. So I'm not so sure that that's really going to stick to her. What I think might stick to her and what might drive viewership would be if people think she's going to get questioned on some of the email scandals, some of the headline makers. I mean, if Trump was the draw on the right, Hillary, who doesn't appear before the press much, is going to be the draw on the left. But it comes down to how hard do you think CNN is going to actually go after her in the debate, or how hard will they allow the other candidates to go after her?
Right.
If she's really pinned down on some of this stuff, it could be, good TV watching.
She will have just testified, or will be testifying, I should say, before the Benghazi committee. A lot of emails that may be incriminating. And then, of course, the FBI continues to investigate her private server, which apparently was the subject of hack attacks by the Russians, the South Koreans, Germany. The list goes on and on.
Yes, I think she is vulnerable there if indeed they do question her. But I think if she's trying to appeal to the Democrats, if they start to attack her too much on that issue, people will rally around her.
Really?
Not the candidates on the stage, but I'm
Right.
saying the voters will feel like this is a right-wing attack. So I think where she is much more vulnerable, quite frankly, is from her left on issues like the amount of work she has done for big business, the amount of money the Clinton Global
Very good
Initiative
point.
has taken in, and her work with Wall Street. Those are things that have been dogging her this entire campaign. I've called it all along her Achilles heel. And when you are on the left, that is what you're most frustrated about, her lack of initiative on economic inequality, those things. I think if you look at the polls, most Democrats have said they're not crazy about the email scandal, but they're not watching it that much either. They're much more interested in what these candidates are going to do on the ground when it comes to the economy and jobs.
Okay, we'll wait and see if your prediction comes true. Jeanne, Zaino, Flip, thanks very much for being with us,
Thank you.
both of you. Check out foxnews.com for more on this developing story. I'm Gregg Jarrett. Thanks for watching.